Yeah, so let's go ahead and get started into episode 3, which is me sharing my top study tips for helping students get through nursing school. Um, Honestly, when I was in nursing school, like I said about Bloom's taxonomy, I was very focused on traditional studying, which meant like I had the PowerPoints and I would read and memorize, and then I would just information dump on the test. And I was really good at memorization. So when I got into nursing school, it took me a good semester or two to really develop those critical thinking skills, like we discussed with Bloom's taxonomy. But I've done a lot of research on study techniques and have found a lot of good information. And honestly, I wish I had utilized some of these tips when I was in nursing school. I just didn't know about them. So I thought I'd go ahead and take a moment and share these with you. So this is going to be a very brief video. Um, when this is going to sound really simple, my first tip is when you are studying, tackle your hardest subject first. Okay. So, what that means is when you're in nursing school, you're going to have multiple tests during the week, right? And you're going to have to prioritize which ones are the most important, which ones is the most important, right? That is going to take you the longest, it's going to be the most difficult to study for, and then work your way down. So for many students, that's going to look like something like med-surg or adult health, as it's known. So maybe you say, okay, I'm going to study for X amount of time on today with doing just adult health, and then I'm going to take a break, and then that evening, I'm going to do study a course that's a little bit lighter. Okay. It's not as hard. That's going to be easier for your brain to retain the information. You tackled the hard stuff right away. You gave yourself a break, and then it was easier to tackle the more simpler concept courses. So don't procrastinate. Definitely get to those harder ones first, like your adult health. You don't want to mess up adult health. Learn how to skim read. So in nursing school, you are going to get bombarded with a bazillion chapters to read, and there is going to be absolutely no way you can read all the chapters. There's no way. You'll have, like I know for psych for my PNs, they usually have to read like 4 chapters a week, right? Well, that's one course. And you have, say, adult health, and you have 6 chapters to read, and then you have community, and you have another 4 chapters to read, and then you have leadership, and that's another 4 chapters. And you're looking at 18 chapters a week to read. And they're thick. They're not like little chapters. No, no. They are thick chapters that take a long time to go through. And there's just no way to read all that information. And even if you are reading all that information, there's no way your brain can like retain that, right? So what you're going to get good at is you're going to get good at skim reading. So what skim reading means is you're looking at in those chapters the bolded items, right? You're focusing on what the bolded items are stating. You're looking at the tables. You're looking at the case studies. The end of the chapter has a lot of good overviews, okay? You're looking at that. And look at your course objectives. Also use that as a tool. The course objectives can be a great tool for you to utilize to kind of break down, outline what you need to know. So in that syllabus, you're going to have course objectives, and it will give you a good idea. Okay, what do I really need to focus on for this chapter, right? So you're getting really good at skim reading, and then you're also supplementing it with your lecture and your PowerPoint notes from that. Okay. Prioritize live exam reviews. I know I've said this once and I'm going to say it again. If your instructor has taken time to create a live exam review, please attend it. Please don't just listen to the recording. You're not going to get as much information out of it. I promise you, you won't. You're not able to ask questions. You're not able to get feedback. You can't do anything. You can't clarify. You can't discuss the concept with the other people who's attending the live review. Um, None of it's happening. And all of that, when you actually talk it out with your cohort or with the professor, it just gets into your brain much, much deeper than listening. I promise it does. Um, when I was in nursing school, we didn't get live reviews. And I will tell you right now, had somebody taken time to create a live exam review, my butt would have been there. But that was in nursing school, 2000, and I was in nursing school 2012 to 2000, no, sorry, 2008 to 2010. Had to stop and think. 2008 through 2010. There ain't no live review. There were no live reviews going on in my cohort. Nobody was taking that time for us. So if your professor is doing that, please show up. Use a study group and make sure it's a good one. Don't have, because I've had students be in study groups before, and I can tell that it's a bad study group. This has happened in my labs because they goof off. They don't study, they goof off. And there's nothing wrong with having light conversations and making fun of the information, like making it entertaining, you know? There's nothing wrong with that. But you want to make sure if you're in a study group, y'all are staying on topic, right? And you're actually going through the material. The next thing that I would suggest is if you're in a good study group, utilize the teach back method, okay? So, and I'm trying to do this more in my lectures. Have members of your study group say, well, let's use a mental health example, okay? Um, and let's say I'm in a study group, I'm a student, and I'm going to do teach back on schizophrenia. Okay, so I'm going to teach the other students or other study group members um, what is schizophrenia, what is it, what is its etiology, um, how does it present, what are the positive symptoms, what are the negative symptoms, what is the psychotherapy for treatment, what is the pharmacological therapy for treatment, okay? How does the nursing process utilized when we're care planning a client with schizophrenia, right? I'm going to hit those notes and I'm going to do teach back, right? And then they can input, but each person is going to pick a topic to do teach back on. And it requires you to be prepared before you go to that study group, right? Because y'all can break up the information however you want to prior to, like, we're going to meet on Tuesday, okay? And then like on Saturday, somebody, you get on your little message board and say, hey, I want you, you all divide up the topics. You do teach back on this, you do teach back on this, you do teach back on this. And that's going to require you to come prepared to the study group with the good information. And whenever we verbalize it out, it's not just about reading it and writing it down. When we verbalize it out, it just helps that information stay in our brains longer. So use teach back. It works really well. Testing and strategies, we're going to talk about the first one, which is the Kaplan decision tree, in the next episode. But start understanding how to utilize the Kaplan tree, which is going to be our first one. We're going to do that episode 4. But how to use those strategies on sample questions. And what I would suggest is just do the ones in the back of the book. Like, use the test taking strategies, like get good at writing them down on the questions. And that way, because you're going to get faster at breaking the questions down, the more you practice those strategies, do them on the back of your book. Get really good at practicing those strategies. It's going to help you a bunch whenever you take your a nursing exam, ATI, HESI, NCLEX, whatever. Utilize the Cornell method for note taking. Now, y'all, this is something I had absolutely never heard of. I'm going to share my screen here in just a second, but I had never heard of this at all. And when I stumbled across it, I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. And this whole time, like, when I saw the Cornell method for note taking, this whole time my little brain was like, why didn't anybody take time to like, show me this when I was in college? They probably didn't know it. I don't know. Anywho, doesn't matter. But it's extremely effective. It's actually what they suggest college students use for note taking. Because it works so well. So what you're going to do for the Cornell method is you're going to have a piece of paper and you're going to divide it into 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks. You see how I divided? You have a top block, which is your title. You have a big block that's your notes. You have a slender little box to the left that is your key points and questions. And then you have a little footer at the bottom for your summary. And so for this example, I've used schizophrenia. So say we're in lecture, okay? And I'm discussing the professor, I'm discussing schizophrenia. So I know that my title is schizophrenia. So here in this little box, I'm gonna be jotting down all my little notes that the professor is saying on schizophrenia. All right. Then while I can either ask questions in class or I can write them over here. But when the lecture is over, I'm going to go back over this paper that I've written my little notes on. And I'm going to be like, okay, what was the key points when the Professor Pickering is talking? What was the key points for schizophrenia? Oh, there's positive symptoms, right? There's negative symptoms. Those are 2 good key points. There's pharmacological therapy for it. There's psychotherapy for it. What were those? Pharmacological therapy is an antipsychotic. There's a first generation and a second generation antipsychotic, right? Each come with their own little side effects. And then what is the psychotherapy? Psychotherapy includes cognitive behavioral therapy, right? What is cognitive behavioral therapy? So you're gonna write all your little key points about schizophrenia, okay? And then any questions. So let's say you went through your notes, you wrote out your key points, and you're just like, wait a second, I have a question. I don't understand this part. I don't understand the negative symptoms of schizophrenia. I need that explained. So you can either shoot your professor an email or during the live review, have these little notes, ask them the questions. I mean, I would love it if a student came to me and asked me to explain something better or to clarify or to come prepared during the live reviews. That would make me so happy. I love teaching. If I didn't, I wouldn't be doing these videos like this. But I love it. And then down here, you're just going to summarize all your notes and your key information. You'll just write a little summary statement down here. And the reason why you want to get good at taking your notes like this, especially for disease processes, is because it's just going to help you break down the information easier. It's going to help you retain it better because you're writing it. Look, you'll see you're writing it 3 different ways. You're taking the bulk notes on it. You're figuring out what the key points are. You're getting your follow-up questions answered, and then you're summarizing your information of what the topic was on. So it's a really good way. And then you can take these to your study group and you got your teach back. Okay. So let's look at the next one, which is, okay. So that's pretty much all my study tips. I do want to discuss the strategy box because I find this extremely beneficial. Okay. Nursing school, like I said, because this is like a little bit of encouragement. And I think encouragement is a great fuel source to help you study and help you stay motivated while in nursing school. The strategy box is to help you stay motivated. So you're going to make this little strategy box and you're going to stick it somewhere you can see it on your refrigerator, by your nightstand, on the bathroom mirror, somewhere. And on this piece of paper, you're gonna make a rectangle and you're gonna divide it into 4 little boxes, little sub boxes in this rectangle. Okay. The first 3 boxes, right? You're gonna answer 1 question. Okay. The very end box, that fourth box in the very end, what you're going to put in there is graduating nursing school. Okay. That's your goal. So the last end of that box has your goal in it. It's graduating nursing school. The next three boxes, I want you to write in a time in your life when you faced something extremely difficult that you had to get through. So, three different times in your life when you faced something extremely challenging and difficult that you didn't think you would be able to get through, and you did. Okay. So let's use me as an example. All right. So, because I can do this on myself, because I'm gonna go back for my doctorate. I dread it so much, but we're gonna use the strategy box. Okay. So my fourth box in my little rectangle shows that graduate with my DNP. That's what I want, my doctorate of nursing practice. That's my goal. Okay. In my other three boxes, I'm going to put a time in my life where I faced something extremely challenging that I didn't know I could get through. So the first box is going to be my BSN degree because that was a butt kicker. I thought I was going to fail nursing school. I didn't think I was going to I mean, that first year, I truly thought I was going to fail nursing school. I was like, I'm not going to make it. But I did, and I passed my NCLEX, and hurrah, here I am now. So that goes in my first box. My second box, I'm going to put getting help for my anxiety disorder. I'm very open about this. I have anxiety, no big deal, whatever. I feel like most of the population does have anxiety. I had it for a very long time. It popped up in childhood, and I didn't really know what I was dealing with until I became an adult. And I finally got help, which was therapy. And it was a complete game changer. But therapy for anxiety, especially when you're utilizing cognitive behavioral therapy approaches, or especially like exposure therapy approaches for anxiety, it can be very challenging to have to work through those processes, especially when you've been living with this disorder for so long and you haven't got the help that you needed until you're an adult. But it can be very challenging to have to go through those therapy processes to get to where your anxiety is no longer triggered, because you're going to be triggered. All right. So, and you need to be triggered. You'll learn in psych. You have to be triggered because you want to be triggered, and you teach your body, hey, this isn't a bear situation. This is just a normal everyday life situation, right? You don't have to freak out. So I got therapy, and it took a good year or two of therapy, of me really working on myself. And I wouldn't say I have anxiety beat. No, I'm in this nice little recovery spectrum. I have a toolbox that I know I can use whenever I'm starting to feel anxious or whatever. And it's helped me tremendously. But when I was in the thick of it, like, I mean, the thick of it, I didn't know if I would ever get better. So third box for me is the birth of my child, which I had a very intense, long labor, and I won't go into that. It was extremely painful because I decided to labor naturally. Horrific. It wasn't a traumatic birth. It was this extremely painful birth that lasted a very long time because it was my first kid. Anyway, I didn't think she was ever going to come out. Um, that was extremely challenging. So when you get done writing down those three challenging moments in your life, then you're going to write down, okay, what did I do in those moments of those situations that I thought were impossible to get through it? What did I utilize? Right? Did it, what resiliency was inside of me, or what tools did I use? For nursing school, I had to stay very organized. I had to prioritize studying. I had to cut out, like y'all, I don't think I saw my friends in 2 years. Like, I had to cut out a lot of priorities. I had friends get mad at me because I wasn't hanging out with them anymore. It didn't matter. I had to prioritize my studying. So it was just a really intense time, and of just like having to consistently grind and push through. With my anxiety disorder, I had to learn how to reach out for help. That was one of the tools I used. I had to reach out for help. I couldn't do it by myself. So I reached out for help. And then for the birth of my child, well, I took some sort of inner mother nature strength, I don't know, that came out of nowhere that was just like, I'm just here and I have to go through this. So but I write down, anything that I can think of that helped me get through those really challenging times. And then I remind myself, if I can do those three things, if you can do those three, get through those three moments, you can get through nursing school. It's just another thing on this life spectrum of, really sticking with it, prioritizing studying, utilizing these tips I'm giving you, and getting through it. It will pass. This is if you're a PN, you're in a one-ish year program. If you're an RN associate, you're in a 2-year program. It's gonna pass. You're gonna get through it. Um, and then no one, like I said, I had this one professor when I was doing my prereqs who said, "You get that degree, no one can take that from you. No one can take that from you." Um, so they can your licenses if you do anything like with like malpractice, but your degree, no one can take that from you. So just remember that it's there for you for life. So hope you found this interesting. Hope this was helpful. There's anything else y'all would like to have more information on, let me know. But the next episode is on the Kaplan decision tree, which I'm extremely excited about. It's my favorite. I love teaching the Kaplan decision tree because it's a beautiful thing, and it works very, very well on nursing test questions.